Most women assume they know the subjective experience of pleasure, but very few engage in discourse regarding what transpires when that sensation begins to diminish, alter, or cease entirely. You may have observed this physiological shift, that quiet, persistent internal inquiry, eyes at me. You attribute the change to hormonal fluctuation, chronological age, or accumulated stress. You may even internalize the belief that the part of you that once pulsed with vitality has simply entered a state of permanent quiescence. But what if that silence is not an endpoint? What if it is your body transmitting a subtle signal that there remains more to discover, requiring only a modified approach to somatic listening? I am Dr. Lily Stones, and if you remain attentive throughout this discussion, I will guide you through a clinical and psychological journey few women ever hear explained. By the conclusion, you will possess a comprehensive understanding of the 6 distinct pathways through which your body can still experience orgasm. You will also learn to identify the specific type of climax that often awakens later in life, and why it is frequently misinterpreted as an entirely different sensation. The ultimate therapeutic reward awaits at the very end, a simple, daily ritual that many of my patients describe as their return to feeling. I assure you, it is softer, simpler, and profoundly more powerful than you might anticipate. Before proceeding, I request your active participation. Please comment with your viewing location and your current age. I value seeing women from diverse global locations share their narratives, as open discourse diminishes the power of silence. If this topic evokes curiosity or hope, please click the like button. It is a tacit affirmation of readiness to listen. I recognize the ease with which one assumes that desire belongs exclusively to a younger self, that the thrill of touch, the surge of arousal, and the warmth of sensation are relics of a closed chapter. But here is the undisclosed clinical truth: your body does not forget, it adapts. It modifies its language of sensation. When you learn to interpret this new lexicon, the slower rhythm, the gentler spark, the subtler waves, you realize that pleasure was never absent. It was merely awaiting your renewed attention. Stay engaged, as we will now surgically strip away the myths that have led women to believe orgasm is a performance rather than a deeply felt, somatic experience. Understanding this distinction is key to achieving authentic release. Every minute of this discussion will bring you closer to the truth about your body and a form of satisfaction independent of age, fortune, or external validation. By the conclusion, you will view your body with new eyes, not as a system slowing down, but as one that is profoundly waking up. Deconstructing the myth of the singular climax. Most women are socialized to recognize only one version of orgasm. A loud, explosive endpoint often dictated by media narratives. When their lived experience fails to align with this manufactured climax, a pervasive belief emerges that something is physiologically wrong, that their bodies are too complicated, too quiet, or too slow. The truth is that pleasure does not arrive on command, it often sneaks in softly, in waves. It may begin with cognitive stimuli, a thought, a memory, emotional closeness, or subtle somatic sensations, sudden warmth, a flutter. Yet, because we are culturally conditioned to expect a singular, dramatic response, many women fail to recognize pleasure when it is actively occurring. The body as a living landscape. For decades, the definition of orgasm was narrowly constrained to a single event. However, the female body is not a machine with binary controls, it is a living, feeling landscape containing multiple pathways to release. These pathways are characterized by different rhythms, depths, and subjective qualities. The body follows the mind. A crucial truth is that the body's response is subservient to the mind's state. Tension, arising from self-criticism, performance anxiety, or distraction, blocks the flow of pleasure. Conversely, when the mind achieves a state of safety, curiosity, and patience, a systemic shift occurs. Blood flow is optimized, nerves awaken, and the spark you thought was lost begins to return. 2. The arousal protocol. Mind as the instrument tuner. When addressing desire, the common assumption is that it begins physically, sight, touch. However, for women, particularly in later life, arousal often originates in the cognitive and emotional sphere, in the imagination, in the feeling of being seen, cherished, or safe enough to fully exhale. The body as instrument. Our bodies are like instruments, and the mind is the hand that tunes them. Stress and self-consciousness tighten the strings, inhibiting flow. Calmness and connection restore the harmonious sound. The dance of physiology. Arousal is a complex dance involving vascular perfusion, hormonal messengers, and cognitive processing. While hormones shift with age, lower estrogen, the ability to feel is not extinguished. The rhythm simply changes, demanding more time, more warmth, and more intentional imagination. Once the mind grants permission to feel, the body naturally follows. Arousal as a slow tide. Arousal should be conceptualized as a slow tide, not an abrupt switch. It requires notice and patience. Rushing or self-criticism can immediately close the door the body was preparing to open. The process is not a physical phenomenon alone, it is an emotional and mental preparation that allows the body to prepare. Heart rate increases, blood flows to the pelvis, tissues warm, and muscles begin to wake up. The 6 paths to climax. A new anatomical map. The structure controlling orgasm is often misunderstood. It is not solely the external glands, but a complex network. Once this complexity is understood, the 6 types of orgasm make clinical sense. Types 1-3. The foundational and transitional orgasms. These are the most common pathways, often existing in synergy. The clitoral orgasm, the outer spark. This is the body's most familiar release. The clitoris is a vast network of nerves extending internally. While it may require more patience and time for blood flow with age, the feeling can be profound. Full and deep, like honey spreading. The vaginal orgasm, the inner pull, experienced as a pull from deep inside. This is slower, steadier, and more grounded. It is less about friction and more about surrender and the tightening and releasing of internal musculature. Many describe it as a melting sensation. The hidden orgasm, the G-spot zone. This lives in the sensitive, spongy zone on the anterior wall of the vagina. When stimulated gently, it creates a rhythm of rising and falling waves, often surprising in its emotional intensity. Laughter, tears, released. It requires gentleness, trust, and curiosity without pressure. Types 4-6C, the integrated and somatic orgasms. These often manifest when the focus shifts from performance to authentic surrender and holistic connection. The blended orgasm, the connected harmony. This occurs when the outer spark, inner pull, and hidden zone sensations overlap. It is an integrated moment where the mind, breath, heart, and entire body connect. It is experienced not as a sharp peak, but as a tide that builds, folds over, and returns, often described as floating or a sensation that is everywhere at once. The sensory orgasm, the traveling echo, a wave of pleasure arising from non-genital zones, e.g., neck, back, arms. This demonstrates that pleasure is not limited by anatomy. The skin itself is an organ of pleasure. It appears in moments of deep presence, often during massage or warm bathing, reminding us that sensation only becomes more refined with age. The release orgasm, the cleansing unburdening, the most profound and mysterious. This is a moment of complete somatic surrender, where deeply held emotional tension spills out, as tears, laughter, or physical warmth. It is a cleansing release that is not dramatic, but results in a profound peace and wholeness that fills the body. This occurs when the goal is surrender, not performance. The reawakening ritual. A path to somatic listening. Most women assume pleasure must be externally delivered. The truth is, quieter pleasure stems from a woman feeling safe enough to let her own body speak. When the expectation to perform is lifted, the body softens, the heart opens, and pleasure can rise naturally. The reawakening ritual. 3 minutes of presence. Sanctuary. Find a quiet, soft place where you can fully exhale. Somatic check. In. Without trying to change or fix anything, simply notice what you feel: warmth, pulse, breath. This retrains the mind to reconnect with the body's signals. No expectation. The goal is not climax, it is presence. This improves blood flow, enhances nerve response, and allows the body to trust you again. Noticing the thank you. Pay attention afterward. Deeper breathing, quieter thoughts, a sensation of lightness. These are the body's small signs of gratitude. The final truth: your body has never stopped speaking. It has been whispering all along through sensation, emotion, and memory. When you slow down enough to listen, those whispers turn into a beautiful realization. Pleasure is not about youth, it is about aliveness. It is never about becoming someone new, it is about returning to someone you already are. You are still whole, still alive, and infinitely capable of joy.